Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we'll discuss about VPC in AWS cloud. So normally VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So this VPC we normally use to host our resources in our own private network. We can create our own network and we can give permissions to our resources according to our need. If we want our resources to be in a public, then we can create public subnets and there we can attach our resources. If we want our resources to be in public private cloud or privately available within our VPC, then we can create our private subnet and attach our resources. So let's see like how we create a VPC, how we create subnets in this AWS. So basically there are two ways to create VPC and sorry, this subnet within that VPC. So let's create that VPC first and then we'll create that subnet. So I already logged into my management studio. I'm just going to VPC to create my new VPC. So by default, like with every region, you will get one default VPC where you can attach your resources in public or private. But let's say like if you are having requirement to create a new VPC and there you want to attach resources as per your need. So I'm just doing a create VPC and this is that Mumbai region. I'm saying VPC only or VPC or more. It will this will get us that subnets as well. So so this is that by default one, like what this AWS will do is like it will auto generate that subnets, public subnets, private subnets, and then it will attach gateways. It will application gateway to the VPC. So let's create that default one only. So here I am selecting, just name this as project. That CIDR value I am just giving 10.0.0.0/16 is our subnet. Then I am giving number of availability zone, that 2 zone I am taking, number of public subnet 2 and then private subnet 2. Then NAT gateway is generally used to get attached in our private subnet. If we want that internet availability in our private subnet, then we can attach that NAT gateway. Let's not include as of now. Then VPC endpoint we normally use to connect internally within that Azure network from the different services. Like let's say like if you want access to that S3 buckets internally within that private subnets. So what you can do is you can create an endpoint to S3 bucket and internally within that AWS network you will be able to access. Then there's this DNS hostname and DNS resolution I have enabled and I'll say create subnets. So this is like everything will get created by AWS. We don't need to do anything else. We just need to provide that configuration and it is creating. You can see like it created VPC, then enabled hostname resolution, then verifying DNS creation, then creating that S3 endpoint. All these things are getting created. So you will be able to see like what all resources are created by this AWS in a backend to create our complete VPC. So now this VPC has been created. If we'll go to that VPC and we'll just filter out that VPC which we created recently, means this is that one, and if you will go to that subnets, mean these are the subnet it has created. So you are seeing right, project subnet public one. This is that public subnet. This is that public two subnet. This is that private subnet. This is that private subnet. So public subnet means if you are creating some resources in this public subnet, means there that internet availability will be there. Those resources will be able to connect to internet if their security group and that those particular things are enabled. So we are able to connect to that internet. But this private subnet, whatever you are seeing, means those are completely private. Means there is no internet connectivity as we didn't add that NAT gateway. And then so normally like what is the difference between that public and private subnet? Let's discuss that first. So if you will see that main difference between private and public subnet, let's open this one public subnet, and here if you will see that route tables mean only this one is like locally. From local we'll be able to see, we'll be able to route all the traffic like within that VPC. But one more rule you are seeing is that the traffic is going to internet gateway. Internet gateway is nothing but which will allow this subnet to connect to that internet. So we have enabled everything to that internet gateway. So it means that we'll be able to connect to internet gateway. And same thing if you will check with private subnet means you will not see that particular rule in our route table. So let's open that private subnet. Yeah, so it has opened. And now if you will see here, you are not seeing that particular rule, right? So it is just an local one. So there is no rule to enable that traffic to that internet gateway. So that is the reason why this is that private subnet. If I will just edit this and I'll attach that particular, like I'll just edit this route table, and then I'll add that rule 0.0.0, the destination, and target should be that internet gateway. So it will also become that public subnet. So this is that only difference we'll find this in public and private subnet. So now let's see like where we can edit our route table. So here in your left panel under virtual private cloud, if you will see like that route tables, and you will be able to see all that route tables which are connected to our subnets in this VPC. So these four route table it has created. these two private these two private route tables are getting connected to private subnets, and one public route table is connected to those public subnets. So if you want to edit some rule means you can directly go here, and what you can do is like you can just go at the bottom routes, and here you can edit your routes if you want to edit or delete anything. If you will just delete this rule means this will also become that private subnet. So this rule is making this as a public subnet, this one, and if you will remove this rule means it will automatically become private subnet. Yeah, so then internet gateway we are having which got created by default with that AWS. So if you will see this internet gateway, let it load. So once it load means we'll be able to see it is already attached to this is here it state you are seeing attached, and it is attached to this project VPC which we have created. So this internet gateway will help to connect to that internet. Now one endpoint also it has created. If you remember like that endpoint it has created for our S3 buckets. So S3 buckets, what it will do is like this is that endpoint. So this endpoint, if you will see, we have created the name of the endpoint is project VPC and S3. Then that endpoint ID we are having. Then that service name we are having is com.aws.ap-south-1.s3, and that endpoint is kind of gateway, and it connected to this one, and that route it has already created. To these two routes it has connected. Why it has not connected to that public route? Because publicly from when something is in public subnet means they will be able to directly connect to that S3 buckets from there, right? But for privately, if something you want to connect privately means that time we'll be needing that endpoint. So if you will see in a route table as well, so in that private one, you will see one additional route like one is our internal, one is our sorry route table, and this is our route table. Yeah. So this is for internal traffic, and this one is for our S3 bucket route. So if you will see the target is VPC and destination is PL78. So this route got created, And what this will do, this will allow us to connect to that S3 bucket. Now, internet gateway I have already explained you. Now, if you want that private subnets to get internet access, mean for that what you need to do, you need to create one NAT gateway. So what you will be doing, you will be creating one NAT gateway. I'm just selecting. So NAT gateway should be in a public subnet. So let's say I am creating that in a public subnet. Allocate elastic IP. I allocated one elastic IP, means it should have some public IP so that it can connect to that internet. Create NAT gateway. So this NAT gateway has been created. Now we will now that NAT gateway is present in our public subnet. Now if in route tables, whatever routes we are having for this private one, in private one, if we'll just edit this and we'll say like all the traffic coming to this, like this is that internet, and what we are saying is it should go via NAT gateway, and NAT gateway we are selecting this and we will save it, means then internet access will be enabled on this server. So this route table, what we are saying is whatever traffic is coming to this NAT, whatever traffic is coming to this destination is our this one, and target is our NAT gateway, means that NAT gateway whatever will get it will be just routing it to this internet, right? And this NAT gateway is already connected to a subnet which is connected to our private subnet, means in our VPC we have created one private subnet and this route tables is connected to that particular private subnet. So this is the flow, like how it is going to internet. Like first what will happen, if we'll try to hit some, we'll create some resources like EC2 resources, and if we will try to connect to internet, what it will do, it will go to that, it is in our private subnet, then private subnet will get to the route table. Route table will look for that routes. It will find we are having one route for a destination 0.0.0 or dot slash 0. This is that internet, and from where that NAT gateway is here. So NAT gateway, what it will do, it will come to that public subnet, then it will connect to NAT gateway. From NAT gateway, it will go to this internet. So this is how that internet will connect from that private subnet. Yeah, so that's all for that default, by default, how we can create that VPC and then subnets and all. Let's create one more VPC. This time what we will do is like we'll create that entire VPC from ourselves. We'll just say VPC only, and this we'll say like own VPC. Right. Then in CIDR, I am just giving this as 0.0.0.0/16 I am giving, right, as subnet mask. And then let's say I'm saying just create this VPC. So now if you will see, I have created one new VPC name as own VPC, and if you will see, there are no subnets as of now, no route tables as of now, no internet gateway as of now, no endpoints as of now, no elastic IP as of now, no NAT gateway as of now. So you can see like now everything we need to create in order this to work, right? So what we'll do now, we'll just go into subnet, we'll say create subnet, we'll select our VPC, own VPC, then we'll say public subnet 1, then we'll just select that availability zone, we'll just give that CIDR value. This is that CIDR we have connected. Now we'll say like 10.0 slash 20. Let's say this is that subnet mask we want to give it to this subnet. It created one subnet. Now let's say one more public subnet I want, so I can give public subnet to this one. I want it to be, then that subnet mask I can give as .0/20. And so now you can see two public subnet I have created in this VPC. Now I'll create private subnet as well. Private subnet 1. Just make sure you are giving that unique CIDR block for each subnet. So now that private subnet 1 has been created, one more subnet I'll create. Availability zone, I can give it this one. If we want to add it directly, so what we can do is we can directly add multiple subnets at once only. You don't need to create every time. So add subnet you can do, you can, sorry, this is for a tag. So if you want to tag it means you can tag it, then add new subnet also. If you want to add at single time, you can create that as well. Not like creating one and then again going back and then creating new. So I just created to make you understand, like this is how it is getting created. So now if you will just see, we are having now 4 subnets. So now currently there is no difference between this public subnet or private subnet. So I just given only difference is that name is different, right? Now there I'll create one route table. So for public subnet I'll create one route table, and for private subnet I'll create one route table. Public is for public subnet and private is for private subnet. Now both the route tables are same. Now this route tables are same. Now I want to associate my subnets, right? So this is private means I'll just associate my subnets here. These two I want to associate in private route table. So in this private route table, I already associated private subnets, right? So these two. Now in a same way, public subnet is this one, and I'll associate public subnets, right? So currently there is no difference between public and private subnet because I have just created route table is also same subnet. I have created in the same way, only that subnet mask is different for all that subnets, that range. So now how I'll make the difference means I'll just create one internet gateway. I have created one internet gateway, and I'll associate this internet gateway to the newly created VPC. I have attached this to VPC. Now I have internet gateway in my VPC, but it is not associated to any of the route tables. Mean any of the subnet is no subnet is using this internet gateway as of now. So now what I will do is like that public subnet. What I'll do in public subnet route tables, I'll just attach that internet should go via internet gateway. Now public subnet becomes public subnet and private subnet becomes private subnets. In private subnets, there we don't have anything in our right route tables. It is just accepting traffic within our VPC. But if you will see in public subnet, it is accepting traffic from that internet gateway as well. So it will be able to connect to internet. It says that status is active. Now, like what you can do is, if endpoint, like if internally from a VPC without internet, if you want to connect to some of that AWS services, that time you will be needing this internet, sorry, endpoint. So let's say if you want to connect to S3, or if you want to connect to ECR, or you want to connect to this EKS, or anything you want to connect within that VPC or from that AWS network without going to internet, that time you can create this endpoints for that particular subnet. Now what we'll do is, for a demo, like whether those public subnets are working or not, I will just create one EC2 instance in that subnet and we'll see like if we are able to connect, right? So let's see. I'll just open this EC2. We'll go to that EC2 page. Currently there are no instances running. I'll just launch one instance in our public subnet and see if I am able to connect. If I am able to connect means internet is enabled. If not means it is not enabled. EC2 demo. I'll just create in that free tier that key. Here I don't have any key. That VPC, instead of default I'll use my own. Then subnet, I'll use my public subnet, and here you are seeing auto assign public IP is disabled by default. You can enable it so that we'll get that public IP into that uh, EC2. Then in that security rule we have already enabled that SSH, and that's all. I'll just launch this. That successfully initiated that EC2, but currently that instance state is pending. So while creating, what we saw is this, we were not getting that public IP enabled by default. Why? Because if you will see that VPC, let's come to VPC again. What happened to this? This search is not working, it seems. Let me see if this got initialized. This instance is running, but status check is still initializing, right? Yeah. So we were discussing like by default what was happening is that public IP we were not able to see that enabled option in while creating our EC2. That the reason was, if you will come to that subnet and let that subnet load, Let's parallelly check if these status checks got initialized or not. It is still initializing. This is taking little bit of time here. Let's reload this page. Parallelly we can. Let me check my Wi-Fi connection if there is any issue. This is connected only. Let's try to connect directly. Yeah, status check is updated. I'm trying to connect. By that time, let's see if these subnets loaded or not. Yeah, subnets are also loaded. I'll just filter the subnets which is in our own VPC. Yeah, so these are the subnets. Let's go to this public subnet. Let's see if this connects or not. We are checking two things. One is like if EC2 instance got connected or not, and second we are seeing like why that uh, while creating that EC2 instance, why that public IP box was disabled, right? So if you will go to action, edit subnets, so here you are seeing that enable auto assign public IP checkbox is disabled for now. If you will just check this and do a save, EC2 instance is connecting. It means we are able to connect our EC2 instance. Public subnet is working as expected. So first one is worked for us. Public subnet 2. So basically, like once you will check that box, means it will, while creating that instance, it will automatically enable that public IP for you. So I have already checked that one. Yeah, so once you will check that box means you will be able to enable that particular IP. So I'm facing some internet connection issues. So maybe I'll cover that in a next video. But for now, you just remember like how we can create those subnets, how we can create public private subnets, how we can attach route tables, how we can attach public IP, how we can attach internet gateway, then endpoints, what we use for all those things you can take care of. And apart from that, we already learned how we can create VPC, our own VPC, how create subnets, private public subnets, how it become public subnets and all those things, right? So maybe that particular thing I'll cover in my next video. So thank you for watching this video.